Hey there, guys. Welcome back to day 3 of our challenge. I'm very excited to have you here. Today, we're going to be discussing how to actually get your holiday offer in front of lots and lots and lots of eyeballs of people who already trust you so that they'll actually buy from you. Okay. So this strategy I'm going to be teaching today is really, really awesome. It's one that I've used in my business quite a bit. Before I get into it, let me just make sure everybody can hear me on live. Hello. Say hi as you're coming in. I love the interaction that we've been having this week. I like it when people ask questions, etc. So let's keep that going. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you guys, but I do want to point out the strategy I'm talking about. It comes from ClickFunnels founder Russell Brunson's book called Traffic Secrets. So if you really want like a blow by blow by blow of how to implement this strategy, I highly recommend you just pick up a copy of his book. I'm not an affiliate of his. I have no vested interest in telling you that. I'm simply saying it because there's only so much I can cover in 20-30 minutes we're going to be together. So I'll show you the broad overview of this strategy. And yes, it's absolutely one that I've used in my business. I still use it to this day. It's also one I highly recommend to any client who comes to me in the beginning stages of their business, because the truth is, when you're first starting out in business, nobody trusts you, right? It's just an honest truth. Like, there's so many competitors who are already ahead of you in the game, and we have to have some reason why they would listen to you and not them. I'm going to be giving you that today. So let's just go ahead and get started. As you're coming in, let me know you're here live. Good. I got everything set up. Here we go. So the biggest FAQ, the most frequently asked question I get when around, how to package up a holiday offer and how to really get it in front of audiences is, how do I put enough eyeballs on this offer to get a lot of patients or clients to sign up for it, right? Now, this applies to whether you are trying to fill your schedule because you don't have enough clients, or if your schedule is completely maxed out for like 6 weeks and you're just trying to increase the value of your offer. Again, how do we get eyeballs on that offer once you created it? And sure, there's a lot of strategies out there. Most of them work or have worked at one time or another for some business somewhere, like Facebook advertising works, Google advertising works. There's all kinds of strategies out there you can use. And I recommend that if you're already skilled in those things, you can use them in conjunction with the strategy I'm going to teach you. But here's the biggest thing when it comes to those strategies is, if you're brand new and you've never offered anything to your audience before, or you have no audience at all, people are not going to trust your offer. They're going to see your ad. They're just going to keep scrolling because you're a nobody, right? That was me when I first started out. Nobody knew my name. So you have to build trust immediately. And that's a little bit difficult to do if you have no testimonials and, no Google reviews, etc. Now, even if you're an established business and you're offering something newly in a new unit of time, you're still going to run into this a little bit because your current clients are very used to what you usually offer. And so you offer something new and have nothing to back it up with because it's brand new and you've never offered it before, you're going to run into the same problem. So let me show you how we fix that. We're going to use a strategy called the slow buildup. I know it sounds slow, but it actually isn't slow in the way you acquire patients or clients. It's simply a matter of not throwing everything you have out the door all at once, right? This is not a horse race where everyone's going to blast out of the door and then lose speed as they go through, right? Instead, we want to build a foundation in your business, which we can then build upon and then build upon again until you have all of these strategies working in your business at the same time, and they're all bringing you revenue at the same time. So the very first strategy is called other people's audiences, and that's what I'm going to teach you today. Now, one quick reminder, this is the last day that you can take me up on this offer. I'm going to be sitting down with you one-on-one over Zoom or in person if you're here in lovely Florida, and helping you identify exactly what part of your business we could package up as a holiday offer. So if you want my help with that, go ahead and reach out to me. You can comment below. You can send me a DM. You can head over to my website, sarahnicolenadler.com. And when you do, you're also going to get, if you guys remember, a fast action bonus, meaning this is only available to people who sign up for this today. I offered it on Monday, I offered it again yesterday. Today is your last chance to get this. And my good friend Stephanie over there will be building you or helping me to build for you a branded landing page. What this is, you guys, is it's a way to capture the identities of your potential clients or customers so that they actually can be followed up on, right? Because there's nothing worse than spending good advertising money to get eyeballs on your offer, and then they looked once and now they're gone, and you have no way of following up with them and finding out, like, hey, why didn't you buy? Or if they did, download something or take some kind of action on your page, we need to have a strategy for moving them through your funnel to really build know, like, and trust that they actually do buy from you. So that's what a landing page does. Typically, we charge $997 to actually build one for a client, but this week we're going to give it away to you for free when you sign up for a coaching session with me. So if you have any questions about that, like I said, comment below in the chat and I will give them to you. All right. This is a great quote by Reese and Trout, who are sort of considered the founding fathers of modern advertising. It says, the truth is advertising cannot start a fire. It can only fan a fire after it's been started. To get something going from nothing, you need the validity that third-party endorsements bring. So let's talk about that for a second. What's a third-party endorsement? What does this mean, right? Third party. Well, you saying things about yourself, not super trustworthy, right? Anybody can say something about themselves. That doesn't make it true, right? Your clients or customers saying good things about you, that's good, right? But that's not really, like, it's possible that we incentivize them, right? And a lot of us do. I will fully admit that I incentivize my clients to talk about the good results that I get them, right? But when a third party, meaning someone, not you, not your clients, but someone completely not connected with your business, who also happens to be rich or famous or highly successful themselves, who is an influencer or, a big name in the industry, when that person starts saying great things about you, now people's ears perk up, right? Now they start really paying attention, and that trust is instantly there. So then when you make an offer, people are like, yes, I want it, I need it, please send it to me now, right? That's the kind of reaction we want to have to your offer. If you remember, we're trying to create an offer that people would just feel stupid to say no to, right? So there's a lot of that is just packaging up the offer, but a big, big part of it is adding that trust factor. So a great example of this is just, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I was invited to be on the $1 Million Practice Show. And this is with John Nesbitt. John Nesbitt is a big name in chiropractic. He does marketing for chiropractors. He owns what's called the Customer Factory. And in fact, he's a member of this group now after I did this interview with him. And he has an audience of something like 5,000 chiropractors who trust him already. They gave him his email address, they're subscribers, they interact with him. Some of them get his physical magazine at their doorstep every month or every quarter, I can't remember. And he invited me to be on his show. Why? Because 2 of my clients this year have already hit $1 million in their practice for the very first time. So he wanted to help me celebrate that. And we did this great interview where I gave lots of really valuable tips on how to hire your first or next dream employee, right? So if you think about it, I took a relationship I already had, right? We had known each other just barely. We weren't friends or anything like that, but we had known of each other, right? And we connected, and I gave him incredible value in his interview for his audience, right? So on a topic that I am an expert on that he is not necessarily an expert on. He's a marketing expert. He's not a hiring guy, right? So I gave his audience incredible value in a way that's not in competition with anything he's doing, but he lent his name to what I was doing. In other words, he said, hey guys, I trust her. You should trust her too. Here's what she has to offer. Right? That is one of the best ways to get clients when you're first starting out, is to figure out how to get in front of other people's audiences. Now, there's lots of unethical ways we could do this, right? We could, try to, hack someone on Facebook and steal their audience and take over, right? We could go into Facebook groups and be super rude and very self-promotional in a group that doesn't allow it, right? Those ideas obviously are not going to get you anywhere. They're not going to build trust, and they're going to make the influencer hate you. So we have to find an ethical way to get in front of other people's audiences and have them lend their credence and their authority to what you're already doing. So this is easy if you're already an expert on a topic that they are not. So looking for parallel influencers, right? For instance, he and I, we both serve people who are business owners in the healthcare space. That's what I do. That's what he does. But we offer two completely different things, right? He offers marketing. He does the marketing for you, which is not something I do. And I offer expertise, right? And business expertise specifically. So by finding that parallel influencer, we were both perfectly comfortable with offering to allow the person to use our audience, right? Maybe at some point I'll have John come in here and do some, presentation for you guys on how he helps people with marketing. And give you some great tips on how to attract clients. Would you guys like that? I'm actually curious. Comment below if you would like to watch that, because I will definitely invite him in. He's a great guy. Okay, so let's take another dive into how do we do this, right? You guys understand now we have to have third-party endorsements, not things your clients are saying about you, but find other people who are willing to say good things about you. So how do we do that exactly? Well, the first step I recommend is to create what's called a press kit for yourself or your business. I can, show you mine, but at the end of the day, what a press kit really is, it's sort of like a cheat sheet for this influencer or the YouTube channel guy, or the person that you're trying to ask to partner with you on this endeavor. And we're giving them pictures of you. We're giving them good testimonials of your clients so they know that you're kind of a trustworthy person and they can put their name and their brand behind you without having to feel nervous, right? It also kind of gives a synopsis on who you are, what your brand story is, right? Like, how did you get into this? What do you do for people? Mine has my story. It has a bunch of testimonials. It also has picture and some reviews of my books because I'm a published author, right? And it just has some professional headshots and some not so professional photos, pictures of me just kind of enjoying myself, etc. Because you never know what the person's really looking for in terms of when they want to use a photo of you, right? So my best suggestion for how to do this is just brainstorm what are some of the really cool things you could put in a press kit for yourself, right? What are some of the things you want to be known for? One of my own business coaches recently asked me this question. I thought this was a great question to ask when it comes to building a press kit. If you could put yourself 10 years in the future, and 10 years in the future, you were like well-known household name in your country for a specific thing, right? What would you want to be known for by people, right? Let's say you had served 100,000 clients at that point and you were very, very, very successful. What would you want everyone to be saying about you when you were in the room, right? So for me, I want people to know that I am business expert. I want them to think of me when they run into a problem in their business. I want them to go, I wonder if Sarah has any content around that, right? That's my goal. What's yours, right? Write that down and then put that in your press kit. Say, I solve blah problem for blah people, right? Then also, like I said, you want to put some great photos in there, etc. Now, there's two ways you can get this actually built for you, because I know not everybody watching this is really a graphic designer, right? So I have two recommendations. The first one is you can fill out that brainstorm. You can put together some photos of you and then just go on somewhere like upwork.com or fiverr.com and hire a graphic designer to build this for you. If you say, I want a press kit build, believe me, you will find plenty of experts on there who know what a press kit is and they can just create it for you. However, if you're on a budget and you want to kind of DIY this, then I do have a recommendation for that too. The template that I use is on bizsister.com. So if you go to shop.bizsister.com, or you can find that direct link below that I just started scrolling on the screen, and you're looking for Amber, she's a friend of mine. She's the owner of Biz Sister, the ultimate press kit template. It's beautiful. I used it myself, and it's on canva.com. So Canva is sort of graphic design for non-graphic designers platform. It's really very drag and drop, and it's very, very, very easy to use her template. So if you're looking to DIY, that's what I recommend. All right, now let's take a look at the next step here. Once you have your press kit, how do we get in front of audiences, right? So, of course, the first step for other people's audiences is you have to do a brainstorming session and figure out who are the people who parallel what I do for my audience. So, of course, before you can even do that, you have to know who you're trying to target. So if you remember on day one, I talked about the 6 steps of building a promotional campaign. One of those 6 steps was determine who you're trying to focus on. So we want to get very specific with this. Is it women? Is it men? Is it people of a certain age? Is it people with a certain problem, right? Really narrowing down who you're trying to reach will help you in this next step, because the next thing to do is to identify who are they already following, right? Who's a big name in your industry who is not competitive to you, or who is in a similar parallel industry like John was to me, right? So if you're a web designer and you're trying to sell websites to highly successful business owners who would pay $3,000 for a custom designed website, right? Well, then think about that. Who else is probably reaching out to them? Well, maybe, social media managers are. Good. Who's the biggest name in social media management that you can think of, right? Someone who's already highly successful, has a really big audience. Reach out to that social media manager and offer to collaborate with them, right? On some kind of project or challenge. Invite them in front of your audience if you already have one, or ask them what it would take to get in front of theirs, right? And usually the best way to do that is to incentivize, right? So you want to give something of value to that person. All right, once you've come up with your list of maybe 100 places like podcasts and channels and influencers and other businesses that you could get in front of, the next step is to come up with a story, some reason or excuse why you're going to talk, right? So I want to go over my storytelling formula with you guys, because I think this is really going to help you come up with what you're going to say once you actually show up on their podcast or on their YouTube channel, etc., right? So if you think about it, every story you've ever heard, every movie you've ever watched, every book you've ever read has really followed only a few basic plots. These plots are overcoming a monster, right? A monster could be an actual monster like David and Goliath, or it could be a monster more metaphorically, like the monster of poverty. Like look at The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, right? He's overcoming the monster of poverty. Or the monster could be the inability to lose weight, right? And that's like a monster in the person's life. So that's one type of story. The other one is rags to riches. These stories of people who started with nothing and ended up becoming really big, right? The third type is a quest. A quest is when we step outside normal life to accomplish some mission, right? A lot of alternative medicine practitioners have a really good quest story. They tried traditional medicine and didn't get anywhere, and so they kind of shifted their mindset to a more holistic approach or a more Chinese approach or Eastern medicine or whatever, right? Whatever their story is, that is really a quest, because they're on a mission to accomplish something, either personally or for someone that they cared about, right? The last one is a rebirth. A rebirth is when you were in a good state, like maybe you were born into wealth and then everything crashed and you had to build yourself back up from nothing. It's similar to the rags to riches story, but it really is more about coming back from something horrible, right? So take a look at these story formulas and see, is there one of those in your own story, right? The story behind your brand, behind your business. What is that story? And that can often be a really good way to start instantly building know, like, and trust with your audience. So if you can use that story as an excuse to get in front of that person, right? In front of that influencer or that YouTube channel owner or the podcast owner, etc., that can sometimes be a really powerful way. So oftentimes I've been invited onto podcasts or onto people's channels, etc., because I have a very powerful rebirth story, right? I was born into wealth, or at least, upper middle class America, not really wealth particularly, but, I was doing quite well. I described myself as a Disney American princess at the beginning of my life because I kind of, was a little bit spoiled, to be totally honest, very, very white privileged, as they say. And then everything crashed over the course of 6 months. My sister passed away, my dog died, my parents divorced, and then my boyfriend cheated on me. And like, if you think about that, I went from up here to boom, all the way to the bottom. And because I had built a business for myself that allowed me to make income that a level of income I never would have been able to expect if I had been in an entry level position, right? Because I had just graduated high school literally 3 months before. I had no college education, no real experience in the working world. And so I had to take my side hustle of cleaning houses and turn it into a highly successful business if I was going to survive, because my entire support system disappeared pretty much overnight, right? So when I tell that story, it can be very motivational for entrepreneurs who are first starting out or people who've been in business for a while and never really seem to make it successful or highly successful. When I tell them at the age of 19, I pulled my bootstraps up and just made it happen, right? And then I show them all the mistakes I made at that time and how, more than a decade later now, I'm older and wiser and have better strategies for doing it. Most people get interested in that story and they want to hear more. They want to get to know me. They go, wow, here's someone who's been through the fire that I'm experiencing right now and can relate, right? So using your story is a very powerful way to get in front of audiences, because oftentimes I get invited by women business owners to talk to their audience and tell them that story. They want their audience to be inspired. They want them to feel motivated to buy their services, but also to succeed in life, right? I've had women's groups who are, around the subject of grief, because obviously I had a lot of grief in my life when I had to, sit with my sister as she passed. I've gotten in front of audiences because of my business acumen, my business expertise, right? I've gotten in front of audiences for all kinds of reasons because I share that story, right? So take a look at your own story of why you're doing your business, how you started your business, how it became successful, or why you're hoping it will become successful. And look for these plots in there and figure out how you can tell that story to those influencers, those people you want to get in front of, because that will make a big difference. Now, there's a very specific way we have to talk about that story if we want to actually make it help you acquire clients, right? If you just tell the story as like, and then they all lived happily ever after, and then that's it, then you're not really going to acquire very many patients or clients from that, right? Instead, I want you to use this formula. I used to blank, right? And for instance, I used to really suffer from grief and depression and had all kinds of trauma in my life because of what had happened to me, right? Until I discovered that I could build a business and I could do anything I put my mind to, and I started living that idea, right? Living and breathing and proving it to myself that I could build a business with no prior experience and honestly no capital and no help, right? I could build a successful business that way. Now I help other entrepreneurs, other business women do the same, and I can show you how to do it too, right? Do you see how that becomes a more powerful story in terms of sales process? Good. So that's what I want you to work on this week, is actually figuring out how you're going to package up what you do, right? Like I said on day 1 and day 2, how you're going to make it seem completely irresistible, like I taught yesterday. And then how are you going to share it in a story that inspires people to buy from you? Okay. Now, let's take a look at the sales strategy behind this, because I hate it. I absolutely hate it when people teach something, but they don't tell you how to do it. Okay. So I'm sorry, but that's just not how I operate. There's so many things about business that you can learn from me that I don't feel the need to fear teaching you how to do this. Okay. So please use this, go get lots of clients, and then come back to me when you are, making 5 figures, and I will teach you how to make 6 and 7 figures. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the sales strategy. First of all, in order to understand sales at all, it's important for you to understand the terminology behind it. One of those words that we're going to learn today is the word lead. Now, if you already learned this, then go ahead and comment below. I don't want to stick on this for too long, but a lead is basically someone who's expressing interest in your services for whom you have contact information. Okay. So if the person says, hey, I loved your stuff, but they don't give you any way to follow up with them, they're not a lead yet. They're just a contact, right? So first you have to contact them. Then you turn them into a lead when they express interest and they give you contact information. And then from there, you have to follow up with them. Now, there's a lot of strategies you can use to follow up. You can just, use right here in Facebook, you can use the DMs, right? Or if you're capturing their email address, you can use email marketing, right? You can even automate your email marketing. You can also automate to quite a big degree some of your DM follow-up on social media using something like ManyChat, right? So you can do this manually or you can do it automatic. It doesn't matter. Either way, there needs to be quite a bit of follow-up in order to turn a lead into a sale. In most cases, you have to follow up with the person as much as 8 times before they will buy from you, okay? So don't be afraid to keep following up with them. Now, if you're nagging about it and rude, of course, they're not going to ever buy from you. So you don't want to be like, oh, hey, did you buy from me? Oh, hey, I'm just checking again to see if you want to buy from me. Oh, by the way, I was wondering if you want to buy from me, right? Don't do that. Instead, we want to go, hey, I saw it was your birthday. Oh, hey, I love that post you made about blah, 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 right? And just be conversational and be a good human about it, right? Build that rapport and then see if you can find a need that they have that you can fill. So those are just some tips in terms of the sales process behind this. So what we're looking at here is we first figure out what audience you want to get in front of. Next, you contact that influencer, the owner of that audience, you might say, right? The YouTube channel artist or the influencer or the podcast host, etc. You contact that person and exchange with them, right? Offer them a gift or some kind of incentive in exchange for the chance to get in front of their audience and speak to them so that their audience believes you and really trusts you, right? Because you were recommended by someone they already know and trust. Then make your offer, right? So this is the strategy that I'm teaching you today. I'm going to give you a couple of tips for how to actually implement it. A couple of quick tips. First of all, do your research. Find out how this person monetizes, right? Figure out what it is that they offer, etc. And really make sure that they're parallel and that they are not competitive with you. Because if they're competing with you, they're very unlikely to really genuinely want you in front of their audience, right? So you might as well just not waste your time. Number 2, compliments go a long way. So I would start with those channels or those influencers that you already like, right? Go geek out a little bit as a fan and say, hey, I really like your stuff. I'd love a chance to get in front of your audience. Here's what I'm an expert on. Is there any way we could collaborate, right? I actually did this when Ben and I, we launched a podcast just for fun. It was just a hobby called Book Pod. It's an indie filter podcast. In other words, we take self-published authors. I read their books, and then the ones that are actually good, right? Then we interview those authors on our show. Now, this is really valuable to a lot of readers because I don't know about you, I'm a total bookworm. And as a bookworm, you want to support indie authors. You really, most of us are like, yeah, I'd love to support you. But a lot of those self-published books are terrible. They're not well edited. Sometimes the plot just kind of like wanders all over the map and they can be pretty awful. So most readers are not willing to wade through 5 or 6 really terrible self-published books to find the 1 or 2 that are actually worth reading. So I do that for them because I love reading, and I'll start reading, and if I get like to the first chapter and I'm just like, oh, I can't stand this, I'll put it down. But if I end up finishing the book and really enjoying it, then we reach out to that author and we invite them on our show. Well, when we decided to launch that podcast, of course, nobody knew us. Nobody had heard of our podcast. And there's a lot of podcasts out there. So in order to actually get some attention and eyeballs on our podcast, I reached out to one of my favorite authors of all time. Her name is Tamara Pierce. When I was a kid, I guess maybe a teenager, I read her books and I absolutely loved them. And to this day, even though I'm an adult, when she publishes a book, I buy it instantly, no questions asked, right? So I reached out to her and I said, hey, look, I know you're busy, but I've been a fan since I was 12 years old. And I would absolutely love it if you would come on our show. And she was perfectly willing. It took us about 6 months to schedule with her because, of course, she's a very busy woman, right? She's a, full-time published author. But in the end, she did end up coming on our show, and we got a ton of listeners who flooded to our podcast. And to this day, even though we don't work on that podcast very often because it's just a hobby, we still get between 6 to 10 downloads every week just because we have some really good names on there, right? So this is the power of other people's audiences. And to make a long story short, that is using compliments the right way, right? You don't want to fake this. You want to actually genuinely be a fan of theirs, or maybe just go through their channel and find a video you really did like and then tell them, hey, I watched that video you made back in March and I really love the point you made about blah, right? So compliments go a long way. Number 3, learn how they're monetizing. Monetize means to make money, right? So if they're a YouTube channel artist, or they have a podcast, or they have a Facebook group that you're trying to get in front of, find out how they're actually making money, right? And then perhaps offer to collaborate with them on that, or find a way to bring them more clients, right? So you want this to be a very much I scratch your back, you scratch mine relationship with them. And if you don't really have anything to offer them, there's almost no point in even reaching out to them, because it's very unlikely that they will reach back, right? But if you are an expert on something that their audience genuinely needs, and they are not an expert on that thing, sometimes that is enough. So just understanding how they're monetizing, you don't necessarily have to offer a monetary incentive to them to get in front of their audience. Number 4, get to the point and respect their time. Guys, I've seen some of these scripts some people are using to try to get in front of other people's audiences, and it's like 3 printed pages of letter. No. Like, write 1 to 2 lines, at the most a paragraph and a half, right? That's what you want to start out with, just to get the conversation rolling, because you really want to respect their time. And let's be honest, they're probably not going to read all of that if they've never heard of you before, right? So really get to the point as quickly as you can. Now, here's my strategy for how to actually approach them, because I know there's probably some introverts watching this, and it can be kind of scary and very alarming to think that you have to go talk to strangers, right? So number 1, get the conversation started, right? Just find something to like about their channel, or that you like about them personally, and talk about that, right? And see if you can't build that rapport. Number 2, ask if they're open to it. Just say, hey, look, I'd love to collaborate. I'm really interested in seeing if that's an opportunity that could be helpful to you. Reach back out to me if you're interested. And then follow up and see if you can't make that appointment. So this might be just a little 15-minute Zoom meeting to make sure you guys are on the same page about it, etc. But I do recommend some kind of coffee date, even if it's virtual, to really get off the ground with them. All right, the last thing I wanted to recommend is a quick little script for how to actually get the conversation started. So like I said, this is easiest if you're already a fan. So when you've made your list, maybe start actually following those people for a little while and see what you like about their content, so you can genuinely reach out with all honesty and say, hey, I liked blah, right? So that's how I usually start out is, hey, I've been a fan of yours for a while, right? If it's true. If not, you can just say, hey, I just stumbled across your channel and I really liked your blog video, or I stumbled across your podcast and I listened to, episode 6 and that was great, or something, right? I wanted to reach out and tell you whatever it is you liked about the content. I was wondering, what do you currently offer and sell on your podcast or channel, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you have already been a fan for a while, you probably don't need to ask that second question, but I do recommend ending your quick little conversation starter with a question. Motivate them to reach back out by asking them a genuine question about themselves or about their content, etc. Okay? So that's my tip for how to get the conversation started. I hope this has been helpful to you guys this week. If you do want my help to actually build this out in your business, feel free to reach out to me and I'll absolutely be here for you. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.